Welcome back, everybody. Let's go ahead and stitch some flowers. So we're going to start here with these little purple flowers with the 4 petals. Either version you do, you're going to be doing some satin stitch for those petals. So I'm starting with the light purple. I'm going to show you, let's do this guy. Let's do this guy. Okay, so we can cover up that weird stitch. So I'm going to go from the outside in. You'll notice that I am wearing a thimble today. I've been doing a lot of stitching, so I'm experiencing a little pain. Plus, it's really dry, so I'm wearing some lotion. So this is going to help me with grip and also help me a little bit with some discomfort I'm experiencing. Okay, so I've done a center stitch. And I'm going to come back and do a stitch next to it. So one thing I want to point out here that's pretty important, all of these petals intersect in the center. If I actually had every single stitch go through this center point, it would be a bit of a disaster. Like it wouldn't all fit. So I'm gonna like kind of tuck this one in next to it, next to the previous stitch here, where that one went down. Okay, and no one's gonna notice there. I mean, I'm still getting coverage here, but I'm not gonna have them all converge at that center point. It wouldn't work. So that's one thing to pay attention here. A satin stitch, I think people either love it or hate it. I used to really not be a fan because it's hard. It's really hard. Okay, I'm going to skip to the other side here for a second because I actually want to do my next stitch in the opposite direction. So the keys for satin stitch, practice and patience and tension. I have like a whole tutorial on it. Okay, this is looking good. So what I want to do is I actually want to come up on this side and go down here so that I can actually push this green stitch back this way a little bit. So that's what I'm going to do here. It would be hard for me to come up and do that. Oops, pull a little green. I'm just going to pull that back in. Okay. So I'm going to use this stitch to kind of put that green stitch back where I want it. Excellent. Okay. We're still doing good. And then looks like I want maybe one more stitch right here. I'm going to do it the same weird backwards direction. I guess like technically they should all be in the same direction because of the way the floss is. I think the floss is spinning in one way. I get kind of confused by that, but it's a thing. Okay, so that's that. I think I can see like a little cleavage right here, so I might actually sneak in another stitch to hide that. Let's see. Let's go from this side. Let's see how this looks. So it's like it's satin stitch, and then as needed, you can add. Come on. Okay, here I go. I need another thimble. There we go. Dang, ouch, that one hurt. Okay, so here I'm gonna, since this is probably my last stitch, I really want to make sure it lays right. So if there's like a weird twist in it like that, I don't really want that twist there because I want, you know, with satin stitch, you want all your fibers to line up as good, as like even, as parallel, as smooth as possible. So real quick, I just want to show you guys this guy. So if you want to check out my satin stitch tutorial at this point, it might be a good place to pause, go check that out, and then come back. So you can see here, I did this shape over and over using different numbers of strands. So for the pattern we're doing right now, I'm using all 6 ply, which is like this one here. but you can see the fewer ply you use, here's just a single strand, okay? You can see the difference there, that it's a lot more smooth. Because you're using like a skinnier thread, you can get more accuracy with the actual shape here versus here. You know, it's not that it looks bad, it's just you're gonna get like probably some more bumps like that. And then from the side, it's kind of hard to see. Like this is obviously gonna be puffier because there's more floss here, right? Over here I did like an outline, and here I did padding as well. So that's kind of almost what ends up happening here. You can see how puffy it is because I did end up doing extra stitches on top of stitches, so it ends up being a bit of a padded satin stitch. So that's what I know. So let me keep going. And I like doing that center line first. That helps me get my stitch direction right. So for the original design, we actually come in and do these stitches with the dark purple, but if you're not doing that, you can just use those dark purple lines as stitch direction guidelines. That was convenient, huh? I came like really into the center with that one, which I kind of regret, but we'll make it work. Okay, so I'll go next to here. So doing that center stitch first kind of helps you have that guideline to lay all your other stitches in the same direction. So you can do all down one side and then the other. Apparently I'm just going back and forth right now. I don't, for myself, have like a hard rule as far as how I do it. It's such a small shape, especially. It's like you can go back and forth like this if you want. With a large shape, I would go down one side and then the other. Okay, I think that looks good for that petal. We'll do this one. You can see I wish careful not to go exactly in the center there. Sorry about that random noise. I just ran into my, what is this thing called? Oh man, I have, my son gave me a cold. Everything's so hard right now. Words are hard. Thinking is hard. Sleeping is hard. I think I'll probably survive though. I think I'll make it through. Can't guarantee the quality of this video though. Luckily, these small purple flowers and then the big pink flower, which we're gonna do today, they're probably like the easiest. So the big purple flower, that's where it's gonna get a little more complicated. So we've got some French knots we're gonna do, and chain stitch, and alternating chain stitch. So I will make that video when I'm no longer sick. This thimble I have, I really like. You know, you can get like the hard plastic ones or metal ones that look super cute. Okay, before I talk too much. I don't really know what I want to do here. Let's see. I'm going to come from this side, actually. As I want to make sure. I'm going to push this, or do I want to just go right over it? I think I'm going to push it, because I don't really want to split that line. This was where, before when I made those, I was like, well, let's see what happens. So I want a stitch here too. Gotta cover this part. I think that'll work. You know, I guess you could argue at this point that, you know, if this isn't working for you, you may want to do these purple flowers first and then do these stitches afterwards. Again, that's where I get kind of confused myself as far as like, what should I do first? And I don't know if there's like some commandments somewhere that tell us exactly what to do, but I think it's kind of like what works best for you. Okay, so those were my petals with the light purple. Here I have my dark purple, also a full strand of floss. And I'm just going to do the center line, so this is pretty simple. It's going to pop up through the petal and then go down into the center. Boop. And you could do this opposite too. You could do all the petals the dark purple and then do the center lines light purple. And one more. So you can see if I put all of those stitches through the center, I would have made a big hole with all those stabbings. Too many stabbings. Okay, so that's that. Let's see. Here you can see my other ones. They look pretty much the same, so that's cool. So then the alternate version is doing every other petal a different color and then doing a French knot in the center. So I'm going to start working on that for, I'll go ahead and do this one. So since I already have my dark purple ready. And I don't care which petal is the dark and which is the light. It doesn't matter. So I'm just going to do the same. Oh, so the thimbles. That was my last tangent. So yeah, those hard ones, I don't really understand how those are comfortable. But I like these squishy ones. I mean, you could also just put a Band-Aid on your finger, really. You don't need anything fancy. But this is just called a silicone thimble. I think I just got it at the store at Michael's or Joann's or something. So make sure you grab a coupon and go check it out. So if you are not into this full ply satin stitch for these petals, you could use fewer strands, like in that green demonstration I showed you. If you want to just do a single ply, you could even use this as like a practice. So like do one flower with the single ply, another flower with the double, the 2-ply. So almost like a sampler is what I'm trying to say, kind of practicing using different numbers of strands. If you're just not into satin stitch, then I understand. And you don't have to use satin stitch. You could always do outline. You could do like the back stitch like we did for these leaves and then fill with back stitch. You could fill with split stitch. I mean, you could fill with anything, right? So do what makes sense. Or just do the outline. I mean, if you have this printed fabric, it's going to look cool even if you just do the outlines of everything. You do the entire thing in back stitch. I always feel awkward with my left hand when I'm using a stand like this. Because usually I'm using my left hand to just hold my hoop. So when I'm using a stand, I really don't know what to do with my other hand. Technically, I could be on the back side with it helping me out, but that's a little beyond me today. Just one more stitch here. I haven't had to do that center stitch like I did for that first petal, which is nice. I mean, if you don't have to, you don't have to. But if you want, at this point, you could do a whole nother layer on top here. It's going to be pretty stitch heavy if you do that. But it is something you can do to make these flowers like poofier. Okay, I'm going to just park this puppy over here. Go back to the light purple so we can finish this flower. It feels weird because I'm just going to be demonstrating one French knot. So what I might do is go ahead and do some other flowers here, these purple flowers. So then when I am doing French knots, I'm doing more than one. Some people have a really hard time with French knots. They can be, if you do it wrong, the problem is that it's kind of hard to undo them. I've done that before. I mean, you have to, you know, take your needle off. You can try to pick it out, the weird knot you've accidentally made, or you actually have to cut it out, and then things get weird depending on how much floss you have available. Great, so hopefully you are all done with those purple flowers. And if you noticed when I was doing this one, I added an extra stitch here just because this one's overlapping this one to make it a little puffier, make it look more 3D. Okay, otherwise it was pretty standard. Okay, so now I have some pink. I'm going to do some French knots. I'm just going to do a French knot in the center of each one so we have more opportunity for demonstration, and we'll see what happens. Okay. So I'm coming up through my fabric. I'm going to do, the fewer wraps, the easier it's going to be. So maybe we'll just do one wrap. Okay. And then I'm going to stick my needle back here. And I stick it pretty close to where I was. Okay. Doesn't have to be exactly, and I wouldn't go exactly in the same hole, but nearby, very close. Okay, now here's the important bit. You want to pull with your left hand so the knot goes to the surface of your fabric, okay? Then you can go ahead, push your needle through. Hopefully, when we did it, you hear that pop sound? That was good. There it is. Okay. So I guess like maybe that's the best advice I can give, is that if you're struggling, just do a single wrap. This one might be a little trickier. I have a lot more going on in the center here with those center stitches, but we'll try. Okay, we'll do just one wrap. Place the needle back down pretty close. Tighten. There. You want that sound. That pop. Loop. Cool. I'm getting a little bit of twisting on those. They're still working. They're not like the most gorgeous ones I've ever done. Let's do 2 wraps. Let's see what happens. Okay, 1, 2. Okay. Pull my knot to the left. Excellent. Oops. Getting tangled on my stand. There, that looks nice. So you can see the difference in size between a single wrap and a double wrap. You can also change the size of your French knots by changing the number of strands you have on your needle. I have all 6 here. Okay, we'll try 2 again. Even though there's a lot I'm fighting over here. Ah, good. So I kind of know how it's gonna go at that point. Cool. If you get the pop, you're in a good place. Okay, here's my last one. Let's try an extra wrap on this one so we make a really big French knot. So you can actually see a little tail because I put my needle down a little further away. Apparently, I didn't do it on purpose, but that's what happened. So you could do your wrapping and then go way over here, and so you'd have like a stalk with your French knot at the end. Okay, hopefully I can do this without running into my equipment here. Okay, let me try that again. 1, 2, 3. It looks like there's always like an extra looking wrap when you do this. Oops, sorry guys, I was trying not to do that. If you saw my setup, you'd laugh. It's like a surgeon with a bunch of odd things. Oh, come on. There we go. So the more wraps, the harder it is to pull through. But look at that. Ooh, that one's nice. Okay, go practice some French knots. And then we're just going to do this pink flower here. It'll be super easy. Alright, so let's do this center flower now. So you can see here, I mean, it's just backstitch. Pretty simple. On this version, you can see I actually did 3 rows with the 3 different pinks. And then this version, I just did 2 rows, and then I did the center line just as a straight stitch, which I like. I like that look. So, another thought I had when I was working this was to do something like this crazy purple flower. This is called interlaced herringbone stitch. I have another video where you can check this out, but I thought it might be a little busy. This hoop is insane. Okay, so there's lots of options. You could also just fill it with satin stitch and then, you know, with or without the back stitch outline. So many different options. It's kind of boring just doing it like how I did it. It's legit hailing. Look at that. Huh. Well, I don't know how to edit out hailing sounds, so here you go. Luckily you haven't had to hear me sneeze or blow my nose. That noise was just a cat attack. What did you guys do? Oh my god. Oh, and what have we had here? Just pulled in the tail. Okay, back to work. P.S. I love this color. I'm sorry if you couldn't find it. This is one of the new DMC colors. This is number 35. It's just... it does something for me. It's just... it's so vibrant. So deep. It's really, really beautiful. And just like that, now it's raining. So again, when you're doing this, you can concentrate on making your stitches all the same size. I always thought it'd be kind of cool to do, like, kind of create a pattern with the back stitch, like do a short one and then a long one all the way around, just to give like kind of an interesting texture, a little bit something different to look at. But I never have the patience for that. You could do like Morse code, put hidden messages in your back stitch. So yeah, I don't even know if you need to bother watching me do this. It's exactly what we did with those first big green leaves down here. Like, just the exact same. So this should look nice over here. We'll come over those stitches. We'll make a nice line here. Nice edge. So I think I'm just going to fill with the 2 rows of outlining and then leave the very centers empty, and we have the nice printed fabric, so it's kind of cool to let that show through. But you could do like what I was talking about with the leaves. You could just keep filling, just like spiraling in with backstitch until the entire shape is filled. So my cat actually got into like a slightly opened drawer and pulled out skeins of floss. Like, what is wrong with him? He's so naughty. So I'm gonna tell you another story about him being naughty. He's like a year old and a male, obviously. And they're indoor cats. We have some unsavory creatures that live nearby, like bobcats and bears and whatnot, so keep our kitties inside. But there are some very brave cats that live in the neighborhood that are outdoor cats. One of them is this orange cat, and we just call him Tom, and he likes to come to our door. We have like windows by the door, and he likes to come, and I don't know if he's teasing our cats. Sometimes it feels like it. But he comes to visit, and our cats will go to the door, and they just kind of stare at each other. One time I actually opened their door to see what would happen, and no one was really into that. So anyways, so he does this like kind of chirping noise when that cat comes to the window. He talks to him, and if he's gone, he'll kind of like chirp for him. But the thing is that when it's nighttime, we don't have any like outdoor lights out there, but the lights are on inside, right? So he can't see anything. All he can see is his own reflection. So he goes to the window and he thinks it's his friend, but it's actually himself. And he'll start like doing that chirping sound at himself. So he actually had to like close the blinds at night because he would like go downstairs and talk to his imaginary friend and wake us up. So I don't know what to say about that, but it's kind of funny. Okay, I made it back around. So I'll do the inner row. What did I just pull through? It's that tail back there. A little silly little tail. Okay. So one thing I did differently between the first one and the second one. So for the first one, I actually did that petal shape each time. So it would be doubled up here and then be single here. Do you know what I mean? Like each one got outlined. But for the second time I did it, So when I do this petal, I wouldn't do these 2 stitches again next to it. I would actually start stitching here. Let me just show you, because that may have been really confusing. So pretend those 2 stitches I already did work to outline this petal and this petal. I think it looks like less bulky that way. So we just continue on like this, okay? Versus, and we'll go grab my sample once I finish this. Versus this one. Oh, I did it here too. What did I do different? For some reason I thought I didn't do that here. Never mind, I didn't do it there. Maybe I had a dream I did it like that. Anyways, that's how I did it both times, which I like. Moving on. Oh man. I need like some cold medicine and a nap. But instead, let's make videos for strangers on the internet to see. Oh yeah, great idea. Okay. P.S. I love you, strangers on the internet. So again, with the next row, if you want, you can do where you actually line up those stitches perfectly, or not. Up to you. I hear my cat eating something. Oh my goodness. He's like behind my cupboards, just... I don't know if your guys' cats ever do this, but mine, like, sometimes they're just being bad to be bad and to get attention. It's like almost like he wants to be yelled at. I don't know. The other day he stole a chicken nugget off my kid's plate. He just fast as lightning, just jumped on the table, grabbed the chicken nugget, and ran off. Then we tried to, like, get it from him. He was hissing. I mean, anyways, we're going to the vet next week. I'm gonna discuss with the vet his behavior. Yeah. So when I did this, I didn't actually do one petal at a time. I did one color and then the other color. So in the original, you may have seen that I did 3 rows of color. So the last row would be the next pink in the series. But for some reason in the original, so I made that like a year ago. And it ended up in that magazine, which was great. But I don't know what I was thinking. I had like those 2 colors that I barely used that are like very similar in color. So even when I was making the diagram for it, I kept getting confused, and I don't remember why I picked those. I don't remember. But so for the updated version, I was like, let's just keep it simple. And we'll just... I could have just kept one, but I ended up replacing both of them with a completely different color, but I thought it looked better. I don't know. Sometimes we do things that don't make sense. So here you can see I kept the stitches even here, and then over here I didn't want to make a small stitch, so now I'm doing kind of like staggered. You can see it looks different. Like, overall, if you're just looking at the whole piece, I don't think anyone's going to be like, hey, wait a minute. This is wrong. But if you're, staring at it right now, it probably looks kind of weird. It looks kind of weird to me. So it's up to you how you want to do it. If you want to pay attention to where you're placing your back stitches. Alright, I'm just going to keep going, but, oh, no, I'm going to do that center stitch real quick. But then next time we'll work on the big purple flower, so be ready. That's the doozy. And then we'll just finish with the fun pink flowers and their leaves for the last one. Actually, I'll probably do a final one talking about finishing hoops and also a little bit about the design process. That's kind of cool to see how the design changed over time and why. So if you're not into that, you probably won't want to watch it. But it'll be at the end if anyone's interested. That's it. There's that center line. Cool. Oh, and while I have the camera somewhere I can see this, let me poke this through real quick. So I've been parking my needles off to the side. I don't know if you can see that. For example, like over here, boop, there's like a hole. So what you can do is you can just kind of like tease the fabric weave to cover the holes. So it's kind of like the last thing I do when I'm done, because I end up making a lot of these holes where I park my needles. So, ta-da!